so that the family may enter. Please be seated at this moment so that the family may enter. As you're seated, please respect social distancing. This is greatly appreciated. God bless you and thank you. Please move to your seats swiftly so that the services may begin to honor the memory and the legacy of Mr. George Floyd. Your presence here is greatly appreciated. We are asking everyone, please be seated at this time.
Lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help? My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He shall not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee shall not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. For the Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. Sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. For the Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forward, even forevermore. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. He is my God. In Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover me with His feathers, and underneath His wings shall I trust. His truth also shall be my shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid of the arrow by day, nor of the terror by night, nor of the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor of the destruction that wasteth at noonday. For 1,000 shall fall by thy side, 10,000 by thy right hand, but it shall not come near you. O Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or even thou hast formed the earth and the world, thou art God. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be made glad. For God is our refuge and strength. He is a very present help in the time of trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth be removed, though the mountains be carried into the midst of the seas, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, streams whereof shall make glad the city of our God. His holy places are the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. For the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. He hath founded it upon the seas, established it upon the flood. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath When you leave here, you won't be the same. In Jesus' name. So you tell me you've been to your physician. Look at you, there's been no change in your condition. Reach out and touch.
Yeah, I see him on the Skype.
Yes, I can.
No, start of the boxes. All right.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right. All right. What? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Let's do it clean. Do it clean. Do it clean. Do it clean. Okay. All right, Clark Peters, man, glad to have you with me. Let's talk about the Five Bloods. How intense was this? I can tell by watching it, y'all did a lot of sweating.
Well, Roland, first of all, thank you for having me on here. It's been a desire to be in your company and commune and talk with you for a long time. But to your question, it was hot. A lot of times working under conditions that those vets were working under, 90 degrees, it must have averaged about 100 degrees daily, whether we're in the bush or whether we're walking through a rice paddy field, or just in the arid land, and then carrying all that stuff on top of it. It wasn't an easy gig. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. All right, so what they want you to do is they want you to move closer to the camera because the audio is breaking up. So if you just move physically closer,
How's that?
All right. Guys, how's that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. No. I got a good next question. All right. So, man, I'm telling you, it was just interesting just watching it because, again, I was sitting there going, especially when Spike chose not to use younger actors to play y'all younger. I bet y'all were like, why in the hell he got us out here running around with these guns, shooting these action scenes in this heat?
That's a good observation. I can remember we did a boot camp for about 2 weeks prior to shooting where we had to be these ex-military men doing all that kind of stuff, outside shooting, fanning to the right, left, getting down, getting up. I got 2 metal knees, I can't be running around like that like I used to be, But it served the purpose. It served the purpose for what it might feel like for a person who has PTSD. You know, that they are reliving situations that are in the past that are traumatic, and they have no control over that. You know, the situation remains the same, but they have grown old.
Well, that was really, you know, when Spike told me he was shooting this. I mean, obviously, we were waiting to actually see what it looked like, and he wanted to tell a story. He wanted to do a story about the Black experience of soldiers during Vietnam, and I mean, I think a lot of people really will get an understanding on the reality of that PTSD, of the pain and the trauma that troops had to endure there, and then also coming back.
Yes, yes. I hope so, because, you know, as a teenager, I was against all of that. As an adult, I appreciate what these men do, and having been stuck out there, not being shot at, you know. I have to take a hat to them, you know, and for them to be treated the way that they're being treated in, all across the world. Veterans are just citizens, you know. It's a crying shame. You know, I have a friend in Baltimore who said to me, they teach you how to do all these atrocious things, but when you come on back, they don't teach you they don't unteach you how to do all of this stuff. It becomes so much a part of you, you know, and you're a broken person, you know. So that moment when Otis and Paul are talking to each other, you know, it's about being able to talk with love to each other, to be supportive of each other in that shared trauma, which being a mediator with your pain, really. Otherwise, I can't see that not overwhelming a human being. I cannot see that. You know, it's like if we are still suffering the effects of slavery 400 years later, imagine a person who's been trained to go out and kill some men, women, children, and see that and have your best friends dying right there next to you. What does that leave you with?
One of the things that really shone through the film is the idea of brotherhood. That you really and truly are brothers out there, and that experience locks in a lifetime of brotherhood.
Yes.
All of you are actors. But what did you do off air to establish that level of camaraderie where you wanted people to feel that brotherhood when watching the film?
Well, first of all, we were 5 Black men in a foreign country. You know, we would dine each other. We would hang out with each other. We would go on tours with each other. We would talk about the script. We would talk about Black history. And men of a certain generation naturally find a love or a bond. You know, I'd worked with Isaiah before, and we've always had a wonderful and good time. So it's easy to love that brother. You know. Delroy was someone who I'd seen throughout my career, always wanted to work with, and I love his work. So it was a joy just being with him, you know. For Norm, we both come out of theater. We've done the same roles on both sides of the ocean, you know, so it was a joy there. So the love, you know, and the bonding was easy off stage, you know, off camera. So it couldn't help, and it was a blessing that we were able to take it onto the camera. You know, it was easy. That was a given. We love each other, you know, and we hope that it's something that will be picked up by other people to understand, when we love each other, can nothing stop us.
One of the things that I thought was quite interesting when we talk about that idea of brotherhood, that is, anytime that there was an issue and there was dissension, there was disagreement, you all forced one another to come back to the point of brotherhood. And by essentially saying, look, this is a circle of one. We're not going to allow the circumstance. And so the placing of the hands in the center where you all had to touch and agree. I think back to the same scene in the 5 Heartbeats. Yep. Same thing. And so it really spoke loudly that no matter what we go through, we pissed off each other, angry with each other, at the end, we've got to come back to that point of setting it all aside.
It's the Master's road. It's healing for your mind, your body, and on your soul. Oh, yes, there is. God can heal. He can deliver. Not only that, but he can mend your brokenness. Do it now, Jesus. He has a miracle to fix your needs. Once you trust him, you will receive. Oh yes, you will. Oh yes, you will. God knows about your situation. Yes, he does. Through every test and every trial, there is revelation that God is able and willing to supply every one of your needs. He's here to touch you, heal you. Oh, he'll set you free. Yes, he will. Oh, yes, he will. Oh, yes, he will. God can heal. He can deliver. He can mend whatever that's broken in your life. Oh, yes, he can. He has a miracle to fit your need. Tell your neighbor, won't you trust him? Yeah. You will receive. Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes, you will. Listen. So by the time you leave this building, my prayer for everyone in here is that you have your healing. Once God works a miracle to fit your need, go tell the world what you have received. Oh, God, you promised me God has healed. I dare to decree and declare it. Thank you for mending our brokenness. Your brokenness gave you a miracle to fit your need. Come on, where are the praises? Lift your voice and say, praise the Lord. We give you all the glory. And we give you all of the honor.
because we're still brothers.
And your point is that it's something that needs to be brought back into the community, into the fold. I imagine that there was a time when people migrated from the south to the north, and whether they knew each other, what they had in common was the struggle, and so they were able to help each other through the new struggle. There's a generation who doesn't realize what we went through in the '60s to bring about, the voting rights or the anti-segregation bills and all of this. Not been in that situation, I can see that it's hard for one to understand how this can be or recognize the power in it. But it's a necessary thing for all of us to get back to. It's a thing all men of color have got to get back to, because we are divided, and if we remain divided, we will be conquered. There is no doubt about that. I got no doubts. But as long as you keep as long as cats like you keep this conversation going, right, there's hope.
Well, that's one. Look, we absolutely will definitely keep the conversation going, because, again, as the reason the brotherhood aspect resonated with me, I'm a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and we have what I actually call brotherhoods, where we look, women, wives, girlfriends, no one is invited. We shut everybody off. And man, we might be in that brotherhood for 5, 6, 8, 10 hours, and some of the most deeply personal things come out in that. And it's all about connecting with one another and realize that we have something in common, and that even if we don't see each other for a long time, that brotherhood still exists. And I just think that really spoke loudly watching this film, and just looking at the interaction, and even at times when the other men didn't know what was going on in a brother's life, once they found out, you can see they felt the collective pain for that brother.
Yes. There's what we tend to not want to do is share our vulnerabilities with each other. And when we do share our vulnerabilities with each other, it gives the listener of our vulnerabilities a chance to exercise their strength. It gives them a chance to exercise their compassion. So it's necessary, as you saw with this, when with Paul and Otis talking about Paul talking about his PTSD, Otis saying, you got to talk to somebody about that. I invite you to come along and sit with us. If we don't go through that type of fire, if we don't sit in the crucible with other brothers going through this motion, then we're not galvanized within ourselves. You're still a bit of soft clay. You haven't been what's the word? You haven't been
baptized.
Fortified,
Right. So I got to ask you this here. You talked about working with Isaiah before. That dude is absolutely hilarious. I mean, so even though this is a drama, it is intense. He just delivers some of the funniest lines in this movie. He had to have y'all cracking up on the set.
More often than not. There's one scene where some of his lines were taken on out because it was just too funny. I mean, he was just. I love Isaiah because when we were in Baltimore together, he would travel around Baltimore on a bicycle, And I'll say, hey, Holmes, why don't you get a car, And he said, Clark, it's the way I like to get down, but like, you make me embarrassed every time you see me with the bicycle. Well, at the end of one season, I was in New York, and I saw him coming up 8th Avenue on his bicycle, and he tried to hide. And all we could do is laugh. All we could do is laugh about this, I got a lot of time for Isaiah. I really, really, really do, And he's one of my theater brothers, So yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot to mess around with.
Obviously, when we examine the various relationships, I really was surprised watching it to see the inclusion of the son of Delroy Lindo, because it was sort of like, when I watched the movie and I'm thinking it's the four of you going back, then all of a sudden that character is brought in. I thought that was a really interesting thing, because it brought the next generation to come full frontal with what that previous generation had to endure, and for him to actually see what that pain was like for his father that he never really understood. I thought that was a very interesting twist that was used.
I hope that some young bloods who see that come to the same conclusion as you, Roland. It's one thing to see the vets out there on the street, with a sign across them saying homeless or off on drugs. But it's another thing to walk in their shoes and understand how they got in that condition. And until, in this respect, until some young men really take a look at it. And this is almost redundant for Black Americans, because we are constantly in war anyway, daily. So, and if you think you're not, then you gotta rethink your position. But for us as well, it was great to have young blood there, so that we could as well express our